YouTube channel, Animals and Pets with Partha. Well, today is a very special episode, special in the sense that this will possibly be the last about the Indian breeds for the time being. Of course, in English. I shall do a Bengali version and a Hindi version for my Bengali and Hindi listeners. But for now, I am going to put at rest the subject of Indian breeds. Now it's time that I give you my opinion. Well, you might people have different opinions, but I have my own. Because I have been a very good, I think I have been a very ardent student of the dog world. Not only Indian dogs, but dogs across the globe. Because that is my only pastime. I have from a very, very young age, tender age, when I came into this dog world, I saw that I had an ambition that I had to achieve. And I think I have been able to achieve whatever I thought I could. And maybe beyond. At an age when nobody expects, I have judged 3 Royals, starting with the Melbourne Royal in 1989. And that was the starting of my career in dogs. And let me tell you today that the people who gave me the Melbourne Royal badge or Melbourne Royal tie, and the day they said, they predicted and they told me that Partha, this will be the starting of a very long innings in the dog game for you. And this Royal Show will always be behind you. And you will get a lot of recognition just because of this show. And we are happy to give you and make you a part of the Melbourne Royal judging panel. Well, they were lovely people. Late Graham Head, late Bill Crowley, and of course there were a lot of other people, Bill Kinsman, and then you had Laurie Grant and Arthur Lane, all dead and gone, all wonderful, wonderful people. I have some fantastic memories with them. And of course, later on, when I judged the Brisbane Royal, it's the Lieutenant Colonel Ray Underwood. Of course, I should not forget to mention that the starting was Bill Spilstead, and it was the first show that I was ever invited to Australia was for the Dalwood Children's Home Charity Dog Show. And I can still recall the afternoon that I was invited to spend with Bill Spilstead at his home in Narrabeen. These are all memories that I still very, very dearly preserve. And when I look back, it's a lot of nostalgia that creeps in. Well, we all have to go and we all have to complete our circle, whatever we were born to do. Now, at this point of time, let me just sum up my assessment of the future of the remaining Indian breeds. First of all, let me tell you, when we could not lay claim onto the breed that really shook the world of purebred dogs to a certain extent, that is the Lhasa Apso, the Tibetan Apso. Originally, this breed from the settlements in Tibet, Tibetan settlements in the hills of Darjeeling and all this around, with all those Tibetan monasteries and things like that, and all the international visitors that visited these parts, they took back these hairy dogs, and finally they had a standard in place. And the standard, of course, was put in place. Obviously, it was perfected and corrected by the Britishers, I'm sure. And that breed, no stopping for the breed. It's so popular, it's across the world. But then you have the competition from the Shih Tzu. They are also nearly similar breeds with some differences, of course. So, but then that is for the Lhasa Apso, the Tibetan Apso. And I, as I mentioned, had bred them for a long, long time. And I won a lot with the Lhasa Apsos. It's a very gorgeous breed, very hard. It's not an easy care dog if you want to maintain the coat and the beauty of this breed. Now let me come to the other part. That is one part that, I had told you that I had sold about 53 Apsos to a foreign lady who belonged to a royalty. And then, of course, she was American. And she used to resell those dogs as original Tibetan Apsos or Bhutanese and things like that. And it went all over the US. But then I had, of course, used Australian imports, which had carried the Saxon Springs lines from UK. And then I used American lines, which I can clearly tell you that though it was from, it showed in the pedigree all purebred Lhasa Apso lines, but of course it has a little bit of more similarity to the Shih Tzu. But of course, again a gorgeous dog. But the coat texture and all that, of the first import from the Ilsa Mara kennels, Ilsa Mara Proud Aussie, which carried the Saxon Springs line, they of course had that perfect harsh coat that the Lhasas, and apart from that, of course, the other things, the eye set and the tail set and all that. So it was all more authentic than the later on when I imported a second one. But of course, I have owned many, many imports and all that. Now coming to the present, what we have and what is listed in the Google, where if you search the net, you have breeds like Rajapalayam, and then somewhere in some episode I mentioned, here it is mentioned the Indian Spitz. Now these Indian Spitz, there was never a Spitz. They all used to come by shiploads from, in the British time. And they are, I would say they would be more Japanese Spitz than any other Spitz. And of course, but it became so popular and common in India that finally they were so numerous. We had numerous Spitz. We later on classified it as German Spitz, smaller German and the greater German. That was very logical that we corrected it at one stage. It was corrected, and then, but earlier it was called all different size, Japanese Spitz and whatever, American Spitz and all that. But then the German Spitz held good because the Spitz variety, the German actually, they were considered to be the pioneers in this to establish that breed. But then what happened was one bright person in one of our committee meetings where I was present, that we have so many of them, why don't we start calling them Indian? And let me just, one word, that before it was called the Indian Spitz, the German Spitz became so popular across the country, and you had numerous of them coming at shows that were a very big number, and people really valued it. Then the funny part, the moment there was insistence of one person, which was very, very foolish to have, because for the committee, and including myself, who was present there. Of course, I had no powers. It means, they just went through it and they just renamed it as Indian Spitz, smaller and greater. And then now it's just become something on paper. You don't see any of them in the shows, because the moment the name from German to Indian, it lost its glory. It lost all the shine. Earlier, people took pride in saying I have a German Spitz. So that really. Now then, calling it that I have an Indian Spitz or an Indian breed was sort of it's substandard. It's not really worth it. So people started slowly. The clan of Spitz across the country just died off. So what has really come to stay? We have nothing of our own to boast of. We have a few breeds on paper, a few breeds people keep and they try to market and sell and all this sort, and some drama by the syndicate. Because they're the people who actually killed the dog game, the entire dog game, including the breeders who aspired to breed. Just by when we had the British system, we had 3 challenge certificate system. The class of dogs that were being bred was outstanding. The quality of dogs was fantastic. But then the moment, all this changed and you have this easy champions, you just churn out hundreds and hundreds of champions, it doesn't really make sense because within that champion, you will have at least 10 grades of champions. One would be really top class, and then that would be a few, very few, and then you come a little more and more and more, and finally you have even bad dogs becoming champions. Well, all these breeds that you see on paper, the Kombai, the Mudal Hound, the Rampur Hound, the Chippy Parai, then you have the Indian Mastiff, I don't know what it is. It's the Bakharwal dog, the Kanni, the Janangi, the Gaddi Kutta, Pandikona, Himalayan Sheepdog, Bull Terrier, Humayun Mastiff, Wanjari Hound, Vikan Sheepdog, Kalkadi, Maratha Greyhound, Tibetan Mastiff, and the American Indian Dog. Again, I don't know anything about it. Sinhala Hound. Well, see, is this Tibetan Mastiff also. We could not preserve these dogs. We had such great stock of these, and they were very much more Indian than any other breeds that are now popular. When the only breed that I would really say that we have achieved the real standard was because there was so much of imports, that is the standard smooth Dachshunds. But that's a foreign breed, that's a German breed again. Now coming to these Indian breeds, I don't see any future at all. Because in the present system of dog shows that we have in this country, it's only people have no faith in Indian judges. If you bring Indian judges, you get less entries, and then, of course, they do bring some Indian judges from time to time. Well, that's a different story. I will not come to that. But our dog show game is dictated by foreign judges, and not only the foreign judges, then the foreign dogs. You have people with lots and lots of money who actually buy these dog shows. As you know, all the dog shows are really auctioned by the syndicate and his group of stooges, nincompoop stooges. And what they do is they're out to make money. So they just gather all this money in exchange. So these people who are actually sponsoring and buying these shows of the syndicate and his people, they select the judges, or they ask the clubs to select such judges who are going to do what they're told to do, mostly. I wouldn't say everyone. Say about 80-90% of the judges are judges who actually get an appointment to come to India to have a grand stay and a holiday in exchange of putting up dogs that are owned by certain people. And not only that, they get some breeds of dogs from mostly from Europe, and they also get European handlers, which are not very expensive to bring. It's not expensive in the sense that for the rich clan of people who come to dog shows, for them to pay for a Russian judge, a beautiful Russian girl, a young lady, wearing small mini skirts or half pant, and then running around the ring with imported dog, which is again a single one in the entire show. So there's no comparison. So it's easy for the judge, because people don't understand that breed at all, because it's just one of its kind, and it just goes mostly, win the top awards. And of course, then the other breeds. So what has happened is people know who are going to win at all most of these shows. So the entries have dwindled. So it doesn't matter really, because the money is being paid by a few people who are actually winning all the awards. So it doesn't matter. So if the numbers have dwindled, even if I once said that this is what has happened, but the reply that I got was shocking. I said we only need 8-10 dogs, because there are 8 placements. So that's enough. If we get 8 dogs, good enough. We don't need any more. So, our shows, our championship shows have come to where there are 18-90 dogs, of course free. And then, because there are some people who are not even, are coaxed into entering, who have no clue. So they think it's fun to take their dog to a dog show. And the, unassuming exhibitor who just comes in, a novice exhibitor, so they fill out the rest of the numbers. So maybe 4 or 5 dogs are actually the people the owners have sponsored the show. So you have another 10, 12, 15 dogs that make up the entire show. And that's a championship show under the syndicate. So anyway, I have to end. But I will tell you that really it's an impossible task to get these breeds become popular. First of all, they are mostly hunting breeds. They're mostly outdoor dogs, and they're not very pretty looking dogs. That is one thing. And then the moment it's Indian, most people don't want to own it. They would rather own, whatever, anything foreign. I mean, it should be, maybe American, maybe German, maybe whatever. Even Japanese, even Thailand dogs, but not Indian, because the moment you put Indian to any breed, Indian Spitz, the Japanese Spitz or German Spitz, whatever, the breed immediately sort of goes out of fancy, and you don't see any being shown. Of course, there are quite a few in the pet market, but they never come to dog shows. So please do subscribe to my channel if you want to know the truth about the animal world. If you want to know different subjects that I really talk about, and interesting, you will find that they're all mostly facts. I only talk on facts. Because I have been as I said before, I have been a very sincere and serious student of the sport of dogs, and of course, and being an animal lover, having kept many animals, many varieties of animals, I also like to include all the species of the animal world into my talks. So do click on the subscribe button, Animals and Pets with Partha, and the bell button. Bye for now.